Well, hey, everybody. Getting ready to record Mike in the Midwest. Episode, what is this? 181. Let's do it. Of course, Riley comes rolling in as soon as I record. I didn't close the door. All right, let's do this. Here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 181 of Mike in the Midwest, our mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Of course, my name is Mike Rallman, host of the Be Our Guest podcast, and you can find me on the social media at Be Our Guest Mike. Follow me on Instagram. That is where I've been giving all my coverage. Shout out Simon, who's tuned in live here on YouTube as we're recording on Tuesday, January 9th. It's my in between times here back in St. Peters, Missouri. It's a kind of a gross St. Peters, Missouri, about 37 degrees, spitting rain and mixing in with some sleet and snow. And 24 hours ago, I was in the Magic Kingdom. So, that's rough. And 48 hours, I'll be at Disneyland. So it's a tweener right now, right? I'll be talking about that here in just a second, but hope you are doing great wherever this show finds you. Thank you so much for your Patreon support. We're trying to keep the shows coming. Hope you're enjoying the shows. We had our fun little draft of cast member costumes with Scott last Friday. That was I had a good time with that one. Hope you did as well. Hopefully, maybe you stirred up some conversations with your family, your friends around the dinner table, maybe on a car ride. That's kind of the goal of those shows. We want to make them interactive in your family. So hopefully you had some fun with that as well. Hopefully you're doing great here in the new year. Maybe you made some resolutions, maybe you didn't. But either way, hopefully the churn of the calendar has found good fortune for you. That's what I wish for you. I hope that this year is amazing for you and that we can all have good health, good fortunes, and that this year is just great for all of us and as a country and as a world, that we have better times ahead. So let's do that here on the podcast. And again, I'm going to resolve to try to build better community with our show. We have a great community. Don't get me wrong. We have an awesome podcast community. It showed so much this past weekend. We're going to talk about that as we record this afternoon. I was so humbled by what I saw, and I've seen this for the last over 10 years with the Lizards, but it's amazing what we have. But I just want to make stronger community, and I want to use somehow technology like we used to have with our forum, some way to get us all together more in 24. So we'll see how that goes. But hopefully you're doing well. And today I'm just going to jump in here. Not a super long show as we get rolling here in 24 on Mike in the Midwest, but just my singular thoughts on what transpired over the last 4 or 5 days. And of course, we are going to get together this afternoon. I know Scott is going to join me. Ricky said she's going to join in, and we're going to have our Friday show all about marathon weekend, recapping what happened. And Scott and I both ran the marathon on Sunday, which got a little wet for a little while. Scott got some wicked blisters. He's hanging in there. It's a bad time to get blisters, right? Because you got to go quick turnaround, right? You got to go. It's like a college football playoffs or something. Like you got to race on Sunday, then you got to race again on Saturday. 6-day turnaround. So he's nursing those feet up in Michigan right now, but he flies out tomorrow on Wednesday. So he's doing the best he can to take care of those feet. I was pretty much unscathed. I have one blister because the problem was on Sunday during the full marathon, there was a 0% chance of rain, right? Is there ever a 0% chance of rain in Florida though? But it said 0% chance of rain. Well, okay, hold on. Let me hold off on this. I'm so bad about Mike in the Midwest because I just talk because I don't have anybody to interact with. So it's terrible. And I'm kind of breaking the format, but we'll talk about that because that's kind of the main topic. But let me hit the feedback from last week when I said best one, last one, because this was my last full marathon. That's right. This was my 10th marathon. So I've completed 10 marathons, 9 at Walt Disney World. This was my 8th Dopey Challenge, 9th Walt Disney World Marathon, plus I did Chicago in 21. So I've done a full marathon every year for the past 10 years. So I'm pretty proud of that. And I thought it was a good time to kind of hang up the full marathon shoes. Not that I can't do half marathons. Those don't kill you as much. 10Ks, 5. I love 10Ks. That's my favorite distance. 5Ks. Cool. But marathons, man, they test your mettle. They test your will to live. Leaving Summit Plummet at mile 20. I'll talk about that in a minute. All right, let's hit the feedback though from last week because I want to make sure I do that first. Len, my good friend I'm in Maryland, says being 12 years older than you and a lifetime bicyclist, what I found as I got older is to be happy with just being able to still do your sport, but not to judge yourself on previous abilities. For me, I'm happy that I still am able to get in at least an hour a day. I still ride in almost any weather. What I don't do is judge myself on the young people blowing by me on the trail or on how fast I used to be when I passed everyone on the trail. Heck, I get passed by good runners going uphill these days. It's a different mindset to just enjoy still being able to participate. You really have to listen to your body and don't push so hard that it stops you from doing the sport. It's better to be able to do the sport at a lower intensity than it is to be able to not do it at all due to injury. You know what? That's some of the best advice I have heard in a long time. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that here in just a minute. And then Steve, thank you for being a patron. Steve just says, amen, Len. Amen, Len. Mike says too here on the show. That is exactly right. And then John Luther, my good friend, says, hope the Dopey went well for you. I'm going to love following the updates from the races this weekend and hearing all the recaps. I can't say that I have a great idea on how or where to try to build community. I really like being part of the Lizards on Facebook since I joined it nearly 3 years ago and have made many friendships there. But aside from that, I'm not on social media much at all. I am on the Discord server, and the activity there does seem to have picked up a bit lately. Though that could just be my impression. Christmas time was so insanely busy that I definitely wasn't checking it as often. Yeah, I was also more on Discord there for a hot second, and I've kind of fallen off in the new year because work has gotten busier, but I'm going to try to get back on that. But again, and somebody ran past me during one of the races. I think it was the half marathon or maybe the full marathon, and just yelled, it wasn't Discord. It was, there's another kind of forums service that's advertised on Twit. It's not Discord. It's dis something. And I know that it's like a forum service. And I've looked into that and I'm thinking about it. It's kind of like V Bulletin back in the days of their old forum. So I'm gonna look into that. So I don't know who that runner was, but I think that's what they were trying to tell me. It was hilarious. And Trisha up in Wisconsin says, hope the runs didn't totally wipe you out for Disneyland. Knock on wood. Let's hope. Can't wait to hear the stories. Having a torn muscle and a break a foot training for my first and only attempt for a Disney marathon. My goal this year is to not get frustrated with my body's limitations. Over the past year, I've had to pivot in my activities to find what works. I've come to appreciate cross training and the small victories in various activities, whether it's biking a little faster, adding a little weight to a circuit, or holding a plank a little longer. Best of luck staying active. Thank you, Trisha. I'm trying to stay active and trying to do the best I can. So, okay, wait. Oh, Michael says, yes, it was me and Discord and on the off ramp around mile 4. All right, Michael, there it was. I knew somebody, but I thought it was the thing's called Discourse is what I'm thinking of. Discourse. Discourse is a company that makes like their whole marketing thing is community building. And what it is, it's a forum software service like Vbolt, like we used to have. But Michael, I thought you said Discourse. But you said Discord. Okay. That's what it was. That's awesome. Because I had my AirPods cranking at the time and I couldn't really hear, but I thought I heard Discord or Discourse, and I'm like, are they trying to give me something about community? I can't tell, but I was like, yo, let's go. And then for like 3 miles, I pondered those thoughts in my heart like Mary. Like the story of Jesus. I was thinking, I didn't know what was going on. But yes, I think about when you're running, you have nothing to think about but your thoughts. And I was like, wow, what was that a patron? And were they helping me build community as we pound the pavement here on these lonely roads? That was great, Michael. And I'm glad you're here today, man. You just helped me so much by being here as I record live. So thank you for that, because now I'll be able to sleep tonight. And shout out to Margie. Happy New Year. Yes, I'm glad you guys are dropping in today because you're making my Tuesday immensely better. But okay, back to where we were though. Where was I? I don't even know where I was. So yes, So, okay, that's the feedback. So if you have feedback about this show or any other show, thank you guys for being patrons. You guys keep the show on the air because the costs have gone up in 24, but we're going to keep this podcast rolling because we love it. We have a great community. I love doing the shows, and we're going to keep them coming for you 3 times a week at least. We're going to keep the live shows coming on Sunday nights. As soon as we get back from Disneyland, we'll get back on that. But it's patreon.com/Be Our Guest Podcast. I'm looking for your feedback for next Tuesday when I'm back from Disneyland. All right, so let me just give some random thoughts that are going to pop into my head about this past weekend. Being 24 hours ago, I was in the Magic Kingdom taking my medal photos. So I did the Dopey Challenge, number 8. So I did all 4 races. Of course, the 5K, my new thing is the last probably 3 or 4 years, I run the 5K in the hot dog suit. I'm kind of the hot dog guy, I guess now. I don't know why. People are like, why you run the hot dog suit? I don't know, because it's easy to run in and it kind of looks funny in pictures. So I did that. The 10K, I ran in a football jersey for our Mizzou Tigers, which I love. I'm obviously a Mizzou fan, and I wore my Brett Norfleet jersey, which he's the tight end that came out of our high school, Francis Howell, and he was a freshman All-American this year. So it's kind of a Francis Howell / Mizzou nod because I got to do our high school and our Mizzou Tigers at the same time. So that was fun. Courses were great for the 5K, 10K. I mean, traditional courses. 5K runs around World Showcase. 10K adds the boardwalk, which I love running the boardwalk. That's my favorite. If you ever want to do a race on marathon weekend, 10K is rocking. Now, everybody knows this probably on social media, is that the half marathon was cut the night before due to anticipated rough weather on Saturday. They cut it down to 7.1 miles. I know you have to do that. You don't have a bajillion people, characters, bands, volunteers. I mean, the logistics of a Disney race is just immense, right? I get it. You don't have people out there in the lightning or strong winds. I mean, it could go ugly. So you want to play it safe. It wasn't terrible, but I mean, it did rain. And could we have run 13 miles in rain? Yes, because people did. But I would have done the same thing. You cannot have somebody get hurt or killed by getting struck by lightning. You can't take the chance. So they cut the race to 7.1 miles, started a half hour early, and the course wasn't great because they had to do what they ran us on the back half of the half marathon. They ran us on like the second half, so that they were bringing us home. Well, the problem with that was that everybody was jamming up because at the points of the course that we were on, it was supposed to be later in the race when it was now earlier in the race. So people were not as spread out. So it was a little congested there, but what are you going to do? And I thought, okay, well, I just had a freak out because I was looking at the video from the last week and I saw the Christmas ornament and I was like, I just Pam put that away for me. Anyway, so that was not a great course, but not much you could do with that. A lot of people did go back. It was very reminiscent of 2017 when the half marathon was 100% canceled. A lot of runners went back to the resorts, put in the extra 6 miles in the rain. Shout out Wade, who was back at Coronado Springs, where I was staying, running in the rain around. I was lucky enough to grab a early bus after running the 7 miles on course at Epcot and getting back to Coronado Springs in enough time to grab one of the first treadmills. Because I love, me, I run every day on a treadmill. So I grabbed a treadmill, put on a podcast. I was dry as an acorn and under an oak tree, and I was good to go for the last 6 miles. I never got a drop of water on me, so I was as happy as could be until I had my breakfast and had to walk back to my room in Casitas 5. Then I got drenched, so I did end up getting soaked. It was just after breakfast and going back to my room. But shout out to all those runners who ran through the rain, man, because that was something. Because I saw a lot of people just out there just pounding it on Saturday, doing 6 full miles in the rain. I mean, that's hard. And I got mine later, so it's coming. So and also people were so, and Michael's also saying there were people that also, some of the people were early birds. I saw people running at the resort at Coronado before they got on the bus to go over to Epcot. So they must got up like at 2 a.m. and put in their 6 miles before going and kind of finish in with the 7. I thought that's what I would have done if I'd have thought about it. Just done the 7 at the end and then been done. Like when you cross the line, you were done. Or people were running around the Epcot parking lot waiting for the race to start, getting in miles before going into the crowds. And people actually finished the 7 and stayed at Epcot, ran around the parking lot until like the last bus back to your hotel. And there were many ways to get in your miles, but people were being creative, which I love because that's kind of the running community. So Sunday, full marathon, 26.2 miles. No chance of rain, finally. 0% chance. I checked before I left because on Friday and Saturday, I had a little rain poncho. Thanks, Jennifer. In my pocket both days just in case. Sunday, didn't bring it because why bring it for 26 miles if there's a 0% chance of rain? Guess what? It poured. Yep. I was running mile 4. I felt like a spit of rain on my face. And I was like, what? Did I just spit on myself or like what was that? Like, did a bird, poop on me or something? I didn't know what was going on. And so like I felt a couple drops and then it just stopped. So I was like, okay, when you're running, like your mind does tricks on you. You're like, maybe it was sweat, but I mean, how's sweat hitting my nose? Like, I mean, where's it coming from? Where am I sweating from that it's dripping on me, on my face? And so I was like, but it stopped. So I was like, I don't know where that came from, but it was weird. So I'm just going to chalk it up to just weirdness. Well, for those runners, I got way back on Bear Creek Road or whatever that is, where you're between Magic Kingdom and after Cone Alley, between Magic Kingdom and Animal Kingdom, right before you get to Animal Kingdom, where it's just a boring road, but past the dump, around the dump. And oh, dude, just opened up. That's where we got soaked. Just poured. And then I take out my AirPods, got scared it would ruin my AirPods. I don't know if they're waterproof or not. So I put those in my pocket and like tried to cover them up I had like a pair of gloves. So I put them inside of a pair of gloves that I had. Then all you hear is like sloshing. You don't hear any music because you don't have your AirPods in. You don't hear pacing anymore. All you hear is just misery, right? And I'm freezing at this point now because I'm soaked. Your shoes are wet. People are splashing you and they're passing you and you're not fast. It was miserable. Then the course was wet for the rest of the time. And for the next 10 photo stops, you look like a drowned rat. But here's the thing. We all got there on Sunday for the most part. Almost everybody got there, and those that didn't get there got a great distance, and we're super proud of everybody that just got out there and did this. But here's the thing I wanted to shout out, because we're going to get into all these details on the Be Our Guest podcast this afternoon that's going to come out on Friday, because I don't want to blow it all here, but I wanted to do this here on this show right away on Tuesday so you get this for the patrons. I want you to know that we have and John Yoginski, he does Intercot. He is the Intercot podcast and Intercot community. He's been doing this forever. I mean, he is a leader in the Disney community. He's a great guy. I see him at media events. I see him at races, and he's just a nice guy. He jumped in on a selfie I took. He's a super nice guy. He shouted out how great our community is because he saw him out on the course, our cheer squad, the Lizards. I just got to tell you how many times this weekend listeners came up and said, oh, I heard your voice. Like, I'll be Scott. I heard Scott's voice. I heard your voice. You guys were talking. I love the show. Thank you for doing the show. Or you guys got me into all this. Or, it was when people come up and say that, it's such a blessing. And let me just tell you how you were a part of that. We had many stories, and I'm not talking one or two this weekend. Probably more than 5 stories of people that have found the podcast. And because of the podcast, they've taken up an exercise program. I mean, I'm not saying they become Olympian runners, but they've started walking or they've started exercising. And maybe they did a first 5K over marathon weekend this past weekend. Maybe they did a full marathon. I know some of them did full marathons and in between half marathons. Somebody did a 10K. But a lot of these folks were very unhealthy until they heard somebody on our show, not me, but somebody share their story of how they got off the couch and decided to try to get a Disney medal and to get a Disney shirt at a Disney race. And how do you affect that? Because you're a patron, you support our show. You are doing good. You're helping us to be able to share these stories. And I thank you for that. We're all in this together. We literally are, because they played that song. No kidding. From High School Musical, when we were in the corrals right before the full marathon on Sunday, because I had to listen to that song forever. That movie was so popular when Mallory was little. And I was like, that is like the theme of our podcast community. We are truly all in this together. I love getting to do the shows with Scott, Ricky, and Pam, but I couldn't do it without your support, without your feedback, without your questions on Wednesday, without your trip reports on Mondays, without your ideas for Fridays. I mean, this is truly a family. And honest to God, I couldn't do the marathon on Sunday without you guys that were out there on the course being there, and everybody that was on the course pushing me, Mike, go, don't give up. Because there were times where I was done. I know I was walking between the board after I left the studios. There's that path between the studios and Epcot by the Boardwalk Villas. Man, I was toast. And I was walking on that thing. And there was a group of lizards, Debbie Stevens, the Rothsteins. I couldn't tell who else was on the boat because I had my contacts in. I couldn't see that well. But they yelled out. They were on the friendship boat going from studios to Epcot. And they caught me walking. And they're like, Mike. And I was like, oh no, somebody's caught me walking. There's a group of lizards on the boat. But they yelled for me and they gave me that kick in the rear end to start running again to get over to the boardwalk. And it was just what I needed because I was feeling sorry for myself. I was 2 miles from home. I was 24 miles in. I was bummed, man. I was hurting. But I mean, so many times that happened on the course. And we have been doing this show for almost 16 years and it just keeps going. The good keeps going. But there were so many stories. And we're going to share them here over the years. And I'm excited to go to Disneyland because I've never run Disneyland. The weather looks chilly out there. I mean, 60s for highs in the afternoons, 40s in the morning. So it'll be good running weather. It'll be chilly, but good running weather. We'll be able to scoot because you want to get back into warm temperatures. But I'm excited to see what happens out there. I mean, I love Disneyland, right? To ride the rides and go to the parks. But I'm excited to see what the races will be like. And I can't wait to share. I hope you enjoy those little quick hit videos. I'm going to try to keep doing those for you if you enjoy those. More reels showing the races and the kind of the photo montages. I'm trying to give you more coverage as I can so you can kind of get a sense of what it's like each day or each half day through these experiences because I want to kind of take you with me. But that's kind of my quick hits for marathon weekend. And it was fun. I'm going to save my review of Coronado. Loved Coronado. Awesome. I'm going to have Scott talk about, he stayed at Caribbean Beach and French Quarter. He fell in love with French Quarter. I'll tell you that much. We had some great meals. We're going to talk about all that on the big show, but just wanted to give you some feedback on, was it my last time? Probably for a marathon, but I mean, I'm not saying for sure it was because this was such a much more pleasant experience because the pressure was off. And I'll tell you what, I really just enjoyed the marathon. I didn't put pressure on myself. And I got a decent time this time. Really, it was a lot better than I was expecting. And it didn't hurt as much this year. So last year, I don't know if it was an anomaly. I don't know what happened, but this year felt better. I'm not saying it felt good. A marathon never feels good. If you ever run a marathon, it never feels good. But I'm 48 hours out and it didn't feel as miserable as last time. So best time last time, I'm looking at the title of episode 180. Probably, but this was if it was a good time. It was a great experience. So we'll see. I mean, I'll just kind of let the universe decide on this one, but I appreciate you guys being there for me. You guys are the best. So we'll record the show this afternoon. It's going to be at 5:30 sharp because I'm trying to get to a basketball game for my daughter as I'm here for about 48 hours. Big basketball game at the H tonight. So join us as we record live. If not, catch it on Friday. Wednesday, we're going to have a cool show. I go through an old Burn Bombs guide and talk about some of the stuff that was around about 15 years ago at Walt Disney World, pricing and some of the amenities you could enjoy. Just kind of a fun filler show there. And then we have a trip report on Monday. Then we'll get back to everything as we get back to things when we're back from Disneyland next week. So hope the show finds you well. Thank you for your Patreon support. It keeps us going. We couldn't do it without you. So let's keep this going in 24, make the community stronger, but you are making a difference. I promise you. And I thank you so very much for that. So until we get back together again, you guys stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.